All team, give it everything you got!
It's time to fangirl flail with Fangirls Going Rogue.
Count me in.
Never get between a Mandalorian and a weapons package.
This is the way.
News, discussion, and commentary from the female point of view.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
She's as important as he is.
With your hosts, Tricia Barr and Sarah Woloski.
Boy, am I glad to hear your voice.
Strap in, because this is where the fun begins.
I like the sound of that.
Welcome, Yub Cubs, to Fangirls Going Rogue. I'm Tricia Barr from Fangirl Blog, and with me, as always, is my bestie in the Force, Sarah Woloski from Skywalking Through Neverland. Have you come down from the week of the Mandalorian and Grogu?
Oh my goodness. Almost. I would say almost. But yesterday I saw Mandalorian and Grogu for my fourth time in 4DX, which was very fun. I recommend it. It is a ride though, and I felt like I needed seatbelts. Like there's a moment where Mando's talking to Grogu and he's like, "Oh, don't forget to put on your seatbelt." And they do this loop-de-loop in the sky, and we're all like, "Where's our seatbelts?" It was a 2-hour and 14-minute ride.
Just shake it off.
Mm-hmm. How about you?
I'm getting there. I've seen it twice now. And the last time we talked, I hadn't seen the movie. I'd only seen the first 18 minutes or so. So you and Richard got to do a non-spoiler review as we discussed behind the scenes, the world premiere, your first reactions. I'm curious to see if you have different reactions with 4 watches in. But first, we all kind of got to relax from all the movie podcasting, even Darth Maul stuff. The Maul Shadowlord stuff was all mixed in there too with content for us. And we both got to spend some time at the Disney parks because there were events coinciding with the drop of the movie. So how was your day at Disneyland?
Well, it was made even better by the fact that you were at Walt Disney World at the same time that I was at Disneyland. The same day on May 22nd, we had a Mandalorian Day. So yes, it was awesome. We went mostly because Smuggler's Run was going to be updated and have a Mandalorian and Grogu version of it. But then the week before, like the week leading up to it, Disney announced all these new things that were happening. There was new foods. There was going to be a new addition to the Shadows of Memory show. There was going to be all this new stuff. And it just like the week just got better and better. And finally, when we got there, it was awesome. And I have to say, we spent almost the entire day in Galaxy's Edge, which is the way to do it. And what was awesome about it too was we went to check out the Smuggler's Run adventures, and we had 6 people. So we had Bryn McKinnon, Julie and James Gildersleeve, Dave Scale, and then Richard and I. We're all 6 of us. So it was perfect to fill out a cabin for Smuggler's Run. So we went 3 times. So we could each do the pilot, the gunner, and the engineer. And then there's 3 destinations you can go to. It's Coruscant, Endor, and Bespin. And we made sure we talked it out. We're like, okay, we're going to do this well, the first time we didn't know what we were doing. We're like, and we went to Coruscant. And then the second time, I think Richard just punched a button and it happened to be different. So we went to Endor. But then finally, the third time, we're like, okay, whoever the engineer is has to push Bespin. And the engineer, I think Bryn was the engineer. She was all nervous. She's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to choose the right thing. But she did it. So we went to all 3. We did. It was so cool. So how was your experience on Smuggler's Run?
Well, I rope dropped. I had a lightning lane, but went and rope dropped it, but the fire alarms went off. And it was funny because Disney Food Blog had posted this picture of like all the people lined up to get on Smuggler's Run. I'm like, no, that's all the people who were evacuated.
Well, okay, so is the line over there much longer for Smuggler's Run? I'm curious.
Not particularly. There wasn't like an amazing, like huge line that they backed us out, but the bummer was that they backed us out and then dumped us at the end of the people that they had prevented going
Oh,
onto the ride. So we did speak to guest services and or given another fast pass to get an extra to get on the ride. That
okay.
so appreciate that they took care of that so thoughtfully. But yeah, I mean the ride. I don't know what's your wait times there. Ours are usually like
Oh.
25 to
Yeah.
45 minutes.
So we waited no longer than an hour for all three of the rides collectively. So
Nice.
it was like, I think the first one we waited the longest was probably like 20 minutes, and then it was 15, and then it was like 10. It wasn't bad. Yeah. And then
Yeah, I mean,
plus when you're with a big group, you're kind of talking and you don't really realize how long you're waiting. So it could have been longer, but it didn't feel like it.
the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride does a big volume.
Yes.
If it's operating on all cylinders and every compartment is working, it can move a lot of people. So, it rarely gets a
Yes.
really long line.
The only time it's affected is if there's a lot of fast passes coming in all at once, like maybe after, let's say, the fireworks show, and then everyone like streams into Smuggler's Run. So it wasn't a big deal. And even that day happened to be a pretty light day at Disneyland. You think a Friday of Memorial Day weekend would be busy? It was not. We waited about 35 minutes for Rise of the Resistance, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are probably gearing up for the weekend and whatnot. I don't know
Yeah.
about there, but like the pass holders are going to get blocked out
Yes.
on the weekend. So Friday would be the last day that people could go, which worked out. But I have to say, I really like the improvements because the design, particularly if you got stuck in the engineer, which I always felt like I got stuck in, made that sort of where you felt like you were looking and pushing at buttons. But now you get rewarded in that one, you get to make a decision about
Mhm.
where you're going.
Only
you get
one of
to-
the engineers does, though,
only
and
one.
it
Yeah.
switches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One engineer, but you do get to play with Grogu. So
Yes. Okay, so what was your experience playing with Grogu? Like, what did he do?
well, he would show up, then he would disappear, and then they would give you a little
Like a
button
light,
toggle
right?
to like looks like feed him or whatever, and he'd pop back
Okay.
up.
So
So
whenever my button came up, all he would do is press buttons, and Din would be like, "Stop pressing the buttons." But that's the only option I had. So I don't know if it changes. So you had a feeding button?
well, that's what it looked like. Feed him cookies, or at least that's how I interpreted. Feed him cookies.
Oh, that's fun.
I don't know, and I picked Bespin. That was
Okay,
my
yes.
choice. Yeah,
So Bespin, I thought was the best of all three.
agreed.
So which of the other one did you go to then? Coruscant?
Also Endor, which is
Oh,
really the Death Star.
yeah.
Is
It's the Death Star ruins above Endor.
yeah.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
was like
okay.
okay.
That was okay. Coruscant was very dark. Coruscant was the one where I was piloting, and I think because it was a new ride and there was so much being thrown at me, I I was like very overstimulated, and I didn't enjoy Coruscant as much. So it would be nice to go back and do Coruscant again, because I heard someone else say they really enjoyed Coruscant. Um, just because you're following, there's like three different ships, and if you pay attention to the pre-screening where Hondo is talking to you right before you get into the cockpit, and then Din comes up, and we were all like, oh, like Din came up, and we all gasped at once. We're like, oh, Din's talking to us. But they show on the side, they show a little diagram of the three different ships, and then as you're going into the ride, you start on Tatooine and you're following, and then all of a sudden you get to this point where the three ships are parked. And at that point, I think the engine, is it the gunner? I think the gunner has to release tracking beacons for
Yep.
each one. Yeah, that's what it is. So that's what happens. And so then you just follow one of the ships. But as the pilot, I was confused as to which ship to follow. But
That's
yeah.
all right. Just steer up and down. You guys
Yeah.
didn't go to Grogu mode then, which used to be
No.
the
Chewie mode.
Chewy mode.
Did you do it?
No, didn't do it. No, not yet. We'll
Not
get
yet.
there someday.
Yeah.
Which essentially is you don't have to do anything, right? The ride just does
It does it. Yeah.
its thing. Yeah.
I didn't like Chewie mode. He was whining at you the whole time. I was like, ah, stop it.
So the one thing that was surprising to me, and you confirmed it, is we both heard in one version Han Solo speak. It was
At the end.
Yes, at the very end when you're coming back into docking, and haven't done enough times to be sure if it's because they have different sequences depending on how long it's going to take you to get back into docking.
Right.
And I'm not sure if it was, but we both heard it on Bespin. Is like,
Mhm.
hey, what did you do to my ship? It's definitely Han Solo's voice.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if it's because of how long it's taking you to get sequence back into park, or if it's because it was in Bespin. But now I'm going to hit Bespin next time and see if he shows up.
Yeah, I agree. And you don't see him, to be clear. It's like you hear him right before Hondo starts calculating like what you've done to the ship and the damages and all of that. So yeah, definitely. I'm so glad you had texted me that day and said, "Hey, I heard Han," because then I was on the listen for it.
Whoever teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, it was
So-
awesome.
If you spent almost the whole day in Galaxy's Edge, what else did you do?
Everything. So we wanted to get the PhotoPass magic shots because there are a lot of new ones. You have Anzelans, you can have Rotta the Hutt, you can have Grogu like sitting there, but you can also have Grogu using the Force to bring a num num, right?
A
num
num cookie.
Yeah, and you all use the Force. So we did several photo sessions but we never got Rada, unfortunately. I saw your awesome photo with Rada, and they were having issues. Like the PhotoPass photographer, one of them had another PhotoPass person do it for us because her camera was not like going to the next thing. I don't know what happened. But regardless, they were taking us over to the garage that's right in the area well, it's not the Jedi Order area anymore. The First Order area. It's not that area anymore. Whatever it is by the ship, the bad guy ship. Okay, so we're by that garage and she's lining us up, and all of a sudden Darth Vader comes sweeping toward us, flanked by his two stormtroopers, and like he means business. He was like walking toward us, and like he started putting out his hand, and we all like instinctively just shoved back into the garage. Yes, we threw ourselves back into the garage like he had he had used the Force on us. And so the PhotoPass photographer just kept shooting. So we have this whole photo shoot with Vader and stormtroopers. It was really cool. Also, we saw Han and Leia. When they overlap for that 15 minutes in the day, I was like, okay, we got to go over there because half our party had not seen Luke and Leia and the new characters yet. So I'm like, okay, we got to go over there. And so we went, and there's Han and Leia under the Falcon, and they're like gibbering to each other. They're little flirty flirts. Like Leia called him scruffy looking. Oh, but you're a nice man. It was so cute. And he's like, oh, well, as long as I'm nice, you know. It was adorable. And Leia, she was gorgeous. I think she was also a princess. You know, you can tell the face shapes. So that was fun. And then at one point, right before we went on to our Bespin Millennium Falcon run, I saw Luke come striding across, and I'm like, Luke, come help. We're gonna go catch some bounties. Can you help us? And he's like, oh, you know, I'm kind of on the hunt. I'm looking for some artifacts. I'm like, well, you can jump in your X-wing. You can really help us. He's like, no, I really got to do that. And so I was like, oh, are you looking for scrap metal? And he's like, oh, shh, don't mention that around here. It was very cute. He was super in character. We had like this whole, maybe not quite 10-minute conversation with him between the six of us, but this is interesting. So he said, oh, now, did you know? I asked him if there's any news going on in the galaxy. He's like, well, I have heard that the Emperor is starting to build a new Death Star. I was like, wait, what? So apparently he's before the Death Star too? And yet in the ride and Smuggler's Run, you go through the ruins of the Death Star. So maybe he's talking about a brand new third Death Star.
Don't think too hard about it.
I'm not. I'm not. I just thought that was funny. It's like, oh, but it's still cool. It's still cool. Now, are the BDX droids back for you?
We've never had them.
What?
Yeah, I think that's because they're in LA and they film in LA. That okay. I think they were here like maybe one time for a very short period, but they typically aren't in. We don't have all the cool stuff. We don't have Han and Leia. We don't have Luke yet. We're gonna get it. I know. We'll get it.
Yes, you'll
I'm
get it. You'll
thinking
get it.
positive.
Did you have any character interactions while you were there?
Yes, with a first order officer who was actually cracking me up. He was strolling through and spoke to a gentleman about his gaudy Disney shirt. It was like one of those Roosevelts or something with maybe, I think it was the one with the Star Tours, but he was, like, what are you wearing? Like, that's not very conspicuous.
That's cute. Okay. That's all fun. Speaking of, it really helps what you wear. Like if you want an interaction with Leia. So Julie and I were standing there. We have Leia prominently on both our shirts. She came right over to us within like 30 seconds of us walking up to the Falcon. So it helps. So
she knows why you're there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she did. She came right over. So that was nice. So the BDX droids, that was another surprise. That was announced this past week. It's like, oh, by the way, the BDX droids are going to be back. And we're like, what? So they have changed. Now, when you were there, Tricia, the BDX droids would just kind of come out and a crowd would crowd around them and they'd just be out in the open. And then they would, like, you would teach them how to do things, right? Like dance or whatever. Well, now they have a specific purpose. They are over in the Landspeeder garage area. And they're behind the fence. Okay. And there's 3 of them. And one of them is a girl. I think Grek is the girl. There's Red, there's Oscar, and I want to say Grek. And Grek's the girl. She's green. And so they come out and they have like this 5-minute little show that they do where they're doing repairs on the land speeders, but all they're really doing is coming out in front of the land speeders so that they're closer to you as the spectators. And there's like some stuff that comes on over the intercom. I'd have to watch again because I was kind of concentrating on taking a video on it. So, but I think they do different things in different shifts and they come out once every hour or so. And it's about only 5 minutes, but it seems a little longer. And what they've done to make it a little more economical is they're no longer having individual controllers control each one. They are automated. So it's an automated system, but it's still responding to a particular, like, things over the intercom that are said. And then I've also seen a video, this did not happen in ours, but one time they finished their work and all of a sudden Jabba Flow came over the little radio and they started dancing. And Jabba Flow is that song that's heard in The Force Awakens.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, what? I wish I'd seen that. So I have to go back and see them again, but it's really cool. And I like that they've made it, like they still look very not automated. They still look like individual, like they're doing their individual things, but I know from the back end that they are an automated response.
So I did go into Oga's Cantina and there's some new beverages that I got, the Spotchka, which is a dry ice drink. So
yes, I don't think we're gonna have that because it's dry ice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they got rid of the Bespin Fizz over here because I think they have a rule about dry ice in California in drinks.
Well, we don't have a rule about dry ice, so we got the dry ice drink. It was pretty good. Yeah, it was on the fruity to sweet side. The dry ice gives it a little dryness in your mouth itself when you're drinking it, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. And there was also another one of those Jello, the Jello dishes. It's different flavor, which I got, which was fine. I
don't have
little
those.
popping pops in your mouth. I had to have it one time. I don't know that I would get that again. So. Yeah. But did you eat anything new? Oh, cookies. Did you get the Grogu cookies?
Yes, I did. Okay. Grogu cookies are white chocolate dipped macaron cookies filled with pineapple cream. Do they have the same thing over there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How'd you like them?
I really like them. I mean, I'd definitely get them again.
Yeah, I definitely would too. They're a little sweet, but still not sweet enough to deter me. Like, and when you get one that has extra thick pineapple cream, it's like, ooh. bonus. It was really good. So I liked that. We did also try the bounty bun with spiced beef and pork. And this is a burger with tomato chutney, golden aioli sauce, and sauteed blue onions. The sauce is very yellow. The blue onions are very blue. It looks really weird. And then the spiced beef and pork bun, that's exactly what it is. It's not spicy, it's spiced. So it tastes very, I think, Mediterranean in a way, where you get like spiced meat. That it was okay. I would not get that again. It was a little too chunky meat for me, and I've been eating mostly vegetarian, so it didn't really appeal to me. And then our friends got the Adelphi cheesy noodles with fried chicken tip-yip, and this has pancetta, toasted herb breadcrumbs, and sweet and spicy chili sauce. They said it could have used more sauce, and the fried chicken is not a breast. It is the dark meat. So take with that what you will. I do not like dark meat, so blah. They did say the cheesy noodles was very good. However, it could have used more veggies.
So funny. I don't like dark meat either, so
Yeah.
I would have been the same way.
Mhm.
The first one, the burger that you mentioned, that's based on what
the flat meat fry.
Yeah, the flat meat fry from the Mandalorian and Grogu, and the Roy Choi, the chef who helped design that, did his video on TikTok from Disneyland and filmed his little thing. He's like, not quite what I designed, but it's sort of a nod to it.
Yeah. I kind of wish they would have a version of his that looks like his, like the flat square. And I wish they would have a vegan version with what is that called?
Like tofu?
Tofu. Because it looks like tofu to me. It looks like marinated tofu. I'm like, I want that because marinated tofu is yummy. Oh well. That's okay.
I'm wondering if they were like worried that because his is a spam recipe, if they were worried that people would be like turned off by the spam.
Well, they have spam in the parks, but they call it, I think they call it spiced ham. Is what they call it when it's in dishes. Because they can't use that term.
You can't use spam.
Yeah. All right. So now I have a question for you. Did you eat anything else, first of all? That was new.
I think that was it.
That was it? Okay. So then also, the Shadows of Memory. Do you have Shadows of Memory?
No.
Oh no. Oh, your part
told you we're slacking over here on the East Coast.
Sad. Oh, I'm so sad.
I have to come to Disneyland to see the light show, to see Han and Leia, to see the new Grogu in the light show.
Yes. So that's what I saw. So Shadows of Memory is like that 12-minute show. And now it's about 15 minutes because tacked on at the end is this little section where Grogu comes up. Now, if you're watching it, if you're going to go soon, everyone make sure you're not too close to the Falcon because Grogu is very small down below. So if you're too close to the Falcon, you won't see him. And it's a shadow of Grogu. And he takes like little pieces of scrap metal and things and makes shadow puppets above him in the sky to the tune of the Mandalorian theme by Ludwig Göransson, which is the first time in a show in Galaxy's Edge that we've heard music that is not composed by John Williams.
John Williams, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's very cute. It's about a 3-minute edition. I recommend it. I mean, it's usually not too crowded to get in there and watch this show. Just make sure you're standing further back towards the edge of that whole space so you can see him.
Important.
Yes. Now, did you get some pictures yourself, PhotoPass?
Oh, yeah. I got all of them.
You look so cute.
I got Anzelans. I had my little, I had Her Universe Grogu shorts, which I got a lot of compliments on, and they were very comfy in the park, and just a plain white t-shirt with it. And then I had the Wild Child, what do you call it? Little Words Project bracelet and a little Disney Grogu bracelet. So I had double bracelets on and my Grogu ears. So
yes. And your Loungefly bag.
Yes, the Bad Baby bag with the Anzelans and Grogu. And I had the shoulder plush Anzellan and the shoulder plush Grogu in the bag. So I got a lot of compliments on the setup.
Oh, and you look super cute in the photos. We were sharing photos all day, as we go back and forth to our East Coast, West Coast Batu visits, and that was fun.
And
Wow.
although we didn't have as many cool things in our Galaxy's Edge, we did get the soft opening of Rock and Roller Coaster with the Muppets,
Oh
which
my
I got to
gosh.
ride and eat at the new food truck, which I highly recommend. But it's really fun. I mean, a lot of people were like, why are they changing it? But I thought that they did a really good job. They've done some things to the pre-show so that it won't be the same every time by
Ooh.
using different screens. It's functionally pretty much the same setup to get you onto a limo, or as they say it, I think it's limo. They say it different in the show. It's very Muppets, but they can change it up so it won't be the same every time. And we had the song Roller Coaster was our song.
Oh, so it changes music too.
Yeah.
How many different music tracks are
I
there?
don't know yet.
Oh.
I haven't read up. I went into it like completely like just not knowing
Blind.
anything. It was fun.
That is so cool. All right. So that's super cool. But now I have to one up you, Tricia.
Yeah, I know you do. I know it's coming.
Because we ventured out of Galaxy's Edge, out of Batu, only to go to Star Tours and visit the other Star Wars part of the park. And we went on to Star Tours, and lo and behold, who was the rebel spy for the 11 and a half time? Oh my gosh, it was me.
Oh my gosh, it was me. I wrote it too, but there was a cute little girl dressed as Leia, so I didn't get picked.
That stupid little girl. Well, I got picked again for the 11 and a half time. And it was so funny. It was actually, the camera was off again. You know how it was off for us, how it got our halves. But it was off in that it was knocked down. So my head, you almost couldn't tell it was me until the last second because the Aurebesh letters were over my face, like over my forehead. So at the very end of that, picture, Julie was like, "Is that you? Is that Sarah?" And I'm like, "It's me." But there was none of that like, "Oh, it's you" response because we couldn't tell right away. But Richard did get a video and we confirmed. Like we looked later. We're like, "Nope, that was me." Yep.
Yeah,
So
for
there you
people
go.
who don't know, the camera was misplaced and Sarah and I each had a boob as the rebel spy. So we both have a half. I just don't have 11 and a half.
No.
I'm 8.5 now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I was the rebel spy this year. So I was this year. So I feel good about that.
That's very good. That's very good. Also, I do have to say the bit of merch that I got, I didn't save all my merch for May the 4th. I got some this time. So we both are sporting our Mandalorian and Grogu headband little plushies, which I love. And Richard and I did spring for the Bausch helmet, which is
nice.
super cool. Yeah. So you'll see it in the background of our latest videos of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Did you put it on?
Right, I did. Oh yeah, I tried it on the last live things we want to share. And so might want to check that out. But it has a voice changer, so it'll change your voice to be lower. It also, if you press the right side, it'll say "diete, giete, gieto." It'll do her a few phrases, and then on the left side you press it, and the green light comes on, and it's really neat. It looks super cool. It's great. So very fun purchase.
Yay.
Oh, what a fun day. And I have to say the weather was perfect. It was beautiful. We had the 6 people. It was just one of those great Disney days that everything was perfect and fell into place.
I like it.
Yeah.
You guys needed it after the long week of doing the world premiere and doing the set and prop event and doing the interview with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and doing
and getting it all out there, right?
Getting it all out there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it all sounds like fun, but yes, it's a lot of work to cover all this stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes when I don't think people realize, and we're not complaining. None of us are complaining, but there is a lot of work when you do stuff like that to get it all out there. So, that last episode we did is on YouTube, so you can see everything. It's one of the few times we're going to do YouTube episodes. So we put it out audio only, but if you want to watch all the stuff, you can and enjoy it as well.
Yeah. So now, Tricia, I'm super excited because the last time we talked, you had not seen this film. So we need to get into the Mandalorian and Grogu spoiler-filled review.
Spoiler filled this time. Last time was
Yes.
not spoilers.
Yes. Okay, so first of all, we'll start though with the box office. So on Memorial Day weekend, I'm just gonna go with the full weekend numbers. Mandalorian and Grogu pulled in 102 million domestically and 165 million globally. And I found this really good article on Slash Film because the articles and headlines have been all over the place. They've been like, Star Wars is tanking, Star Wars is great, Star Wars is terrible. Like, it's just all over. So Slash Film has a very good article, Why Mandalorian and Grogu was a win for Star Wars at the box office. And it doesn't just deal in numbers. It listed some good, very feasible reasons. So for one thing, the audience rating on the tomato meter, if you will, is at an all-time high for a new Star Wars movie in the Disney era at 88%. So that means audiences going really like this, which generally means it'll have good word of mouth and good legs for a film. And then as you pointed out last week, Mandalorian and Grogu was relatively cheap to make at 165 million, give or take. Yeah, that was the production budget. Now that does not include the marketing. Thank you, marketing.
Right.
However, this was another point that Slash Film made in that the merchandise for this film is probably going to be off the charts because Grogu, just Grogu alone, has sold about 1 billion in merchandise since its debut in 2019. So I don't know about you, but I've bought, I don't know, 4 or 5 things with Grogu on it since, like, for the marketing of this film, just this film alone.
I'm afraid to admit how much Grogu stuff I have.
I want to know. Come on, tell me.
I just moved all my Grogu stuff. It fills 2 whole bookcases. I have at least 10 Mandalorian Grogu themed Loungefly bags.
Wow.
I have a lot of Mandalorian Grogu clothes, 2 dresses from her universe, quite a bit of jewelry. So yeah.
Yeah, it sells. The point is, it sells.
Oh, and that's not even talking like the armor stuff that I have.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm just talking about Grogu. Yeah.
Yeah, just Grogu and the Mandalorian. So, but out of the Mandalorian kind of verse, I'd call it, universe itself. So yeah, the merchandise itself, I think, was a big driving factor when they made season 3 kind of go back to the Mando and Grogu itself. And I think it was a big decision why they decided to go ahead and go with it as a movie, because they
knew it would sell merchandise.
Yeah, they need to sell merchandise. It's part of how they operate. But typically, when people say, oh, it's not going to make $1 billion, one, we're in post-COVID era, the box office is just never going to be the same. And 2, generally a movie, if it makes 2.5 times what it cost, then we're looking at break even to making money. And that's pretty much typical of any business. What you'd like to be around 3 times of what something costs to be making money, because there's all the other expenses of just being a business, like pre-production, marketing, that kind of stuff that goes into it. But because they have the merchandise, they don't have to even make as much in the box office. But it appears we have a little bit of like the Phantom Menace type thing going, where people are saying, there's people in the media, and the critic score wasn't that great, have certain expectations for Star Wars to be something, and they're talking about it. So you see something in the media. But like, I talked to my coworker, her kids are 8 and 6. And I said, listen, I went to Star Wars when I was 8. It changed my life. Like, and so she took her kids. She said they loved it, absolutely loved it. So they don't know anything about Star Wars, really. They've seen a couple, episodes of the Clone Wars here and there, but this is a great way. Now they can look and say, oh, well, I want to know more about Jabba the Hutt, Rotta's dad, or, go watch The Mandalorian when they're a little bit older. Go turn on the Clone Wars. Go show them the Clone Wars animated movie that has Stinky in it, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
So, I think it's accomplishing what it needs to accomplish. And so you just kind of have to word of mouth is different, right? People tend to trust people they speak to. They'll be like, "Oh, I heard and I saw on my phone that it wasn't doing well," but when actually it's doing just fine.
Yeah, yeah. And also, this is bringing in younger fans with a simple story. Like you said, your friend with her 6 and 8-year-old, they loved it. It is rated PG-13, which I thought was kind of surprising, I guess, but all the
There's a
fighting.
lot there's a lot of
Yeah.
death in it, and I think that's what
Yeah.
pushes it over.
Yeah, I
If
think
you
so.
Yeah.
But if you
But
think about it in long terms, just like you said, your friend brought her kids who loved it. This is a good jumping off point for Star Wars for a new fan. And that's what Jon Favreau wanted to do. And I think in about 10 years, we're going to see how this movie actually did, how it affected the younger fans.
And just like speaking on it, like the economics of it, having now watched it twice, I was pretty sure after the first viewing, I'm like, I feel like a lot of that was shot in those Quonset huts. Like the sets, I kept feeling like, oh, I feel like some of these sets are about the size now that we've been in them. And if you look at the Adelphi Bay shots, the buildings that they used for like the pilot hangar, so we got to go on the set that is the inside of one of those huts, but that literally is what they look like, essentially, these buildings that we got to go in. And I'm pretty sure at least on three sets that the twins throne room, we know the Delphi base pilot bar was shot in there because we've been on that set, and the salt bar.
The salt bar definitely looks exactly the same size.
Yeah, you can see that they didn't try to hide the top of the set.
Oh.
Like if you so I watched a second time. I looked specifically, and you can see it. And then if you look kind of at the twin set, you can see the edge of the
hut, because it's a rounded top. It's a rounded top. You can kind of see that.
And I'm pretty sure that the inside of the AT-AT and the first warlord scene and the opening scene, that's probably in those, and the inside shots of the Razor Crest could have easily been done in those rooms. So it feels like that was probably, I would say the one thing I would criticize the Mandalorian and Grogu is sometimes things felt contained, but I think that's why.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. All right.
And that's a real minor nitpick.
Oh yeah, minor quibble.
I felt like when we got to see the big expansive shot coming into the Delphi base where it was outside, that was like my favorite. That's what felt really Star Wars-y. I'm like, oh yeah, I like this.
That was beautiful. The music accompanying that was beautiful. Also, when Mandalorian and Grogu, they go off back to Navarro, and the beautiful kind of flourish of the orchestra there at that point too. It's just, I loved it. And the same, you got that same like flyover shot. Okay, so Tricia, really want to know your reactions to the Mandalorian and Grogu. So how was it for you to sit down after almost 7 years without Star Wars and see it on the big screen?
Wow, it was exciting. There's something about the communal experience of sitting in a theater, and I don't know, I feel like I can feel energy, and it's something you don't get when you're watching it on TV. Sometimes you have to like look for it. When I try not to look at my screen while I'm watching, but sometimes you feel like you want to see how their people are vibing, but when you're sitting in a room, you can kind of tell how they're vibing. So I was so excited to be in the room, because for me, that's my foundational Star Wars experience was being in a theater. I can't describe how people were crazy in the Star Wars in the theater. I mean, watching it as a kid, people were crazy.
Yeah. I did not have that experience because I'm a little younger. However, when they did the re-releases in 97, that was the first time I got to see Star Wars in a packed theater. And it was like watching a melodrama. Everyone clapped when Luke did the Death Star. Everyone like booed Vader. Like it was awesome. So I had that experience, but I knew the story already. But I'm so glad that they had those re-releases, because for me that was my very first time in a theater.
We
It's
did
great.
get the big applause at the end of the second screening. That was fun too. There were little moments where people applauded it. Every watch is different, but it
Yes.
was like people were really excited. So that was fun.
A
They were
lot of
happy.
the press screenings, they would applaud for Lateef Crowder and Brandon Wayne just as much as Pedro Pascal. As all. I
Nice.
thought that was nice. Yeah. So, did you have an expectation for this film, and how did that play out?
Well, I remember that surprising announcement, right? That we
Yes.
were going to get this movie. And I remember thinking, The Mandalorian and Grogu.
How is this
How's
this
it
is
gonna
like off
work?
the rails. Yeah, like it was very surprise. It was a reaction to some other media going on, and it's like, okay, everyone look over here. Look at this.
Yeah, because we expected 3 different movies based on the Celebration Europe announcements, and then it was like, oh, we're going to the Mandalorian and Grogu, and I was thinking, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to turn a TV show into a movie? How's that happen? And as it was, we actually got to talk to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. You were part of the round table, and I think John and Dave kind of helped define expectations. So we're going to listen to them respond. This is an answer to Father Son Galaxy's question about turning this into a movie. They'll explain how they went from season 4 to a movie.
Well, we had planned on doing a 4th season, and the 4th season was going to be a continuation of the 3rd season. I actually wrote all of it, and then there was a work stoppage. There was a strike, and after the strike lasted quite a long time, when we came out of it, there was a conversation about how long Star Wars had been out of theaters, and is there an opportunity to explore a story around these 2 characters, and these are 2 characters that even if people hadn't seen the show, they were familiar with already, especially Grogu. People knew him as Baby Yoda. But we couldn't take the scripts, unfortunately, that I wrote and just turn them into a movie, because a movie has to play as a 2-hour adventure. And because there hasn't been Star Wars in theaters for 7 years, we really wanted it to be accessible to people who this might be their first Star Wars experience. There might be a 12-year-old who was a little kid when the last time Star Wars was in movie theaters. We wanted the fans to be able to go and enjoy themselves, but also bring people who this might be their first experience with Star Wars. Yeah. So we had to start from scratch. We had to start writing, and so it changed dramatically.
The most important part is him talking about making it accessible. You really you have to rework the idea to not have the expectation of these people are in season 3 and know seasons 1, or actually season 4, and they know seasons 1, 2, and 3. So you just have to say, okay, I'm gonna totally dump this and do something different than what I thought I was gonna do, which is fine, because if you watch the first 18 minutes, which is what I got to see in the early screening, that's tells you everything you need to know about these characters. If you don't know anything, the Mandalorian's a competent bounty hunter. You know the state of the galaxy, that he's working for the New Republic, and that he takes his kid along on his adventures, and that his kid has a little bit of force ability, which he can blow things up, but he's still, he's like, are you okay? I sneeze in the snow, and then immediately sets you into, well, we need you to get more bad guys, but we're going to ask you to go deal with the Hutts who you don't really want to deal with, type of thing, and kind of sets up the quandary very early.
Now, I did get to talk to them about the music, which we did cover in our behind the scenes review episode. And we'll talk about the music a little later on in this episode with you, Tricia.
Yeah, we're gonna deal with it now that I've seen it all.
Yes. So now let's get into these character journeys. So let's start with Mandalorian. How did you feel about his character arc or journey in this film?
He doesn't move as much as I thought he would in this. Maybe actually, let me put this another way. He moves less than I thought he would, because I thought he would be like, I'm bounty hunter, and then I'm fully in the New Republic. And emotionally, I think he is, but we just get the nod from Colonel Ward saying, "Oh, sure, the
Yes,
Grogu
you're
salutes, right? He does a little
right.
salute at the end, and we know Rod is like, I'm joining the New Republic. And
Yeah, and
Mando's
he's
still
just like,
kind of,
I'll do that.
I'm
And she's like,
here.
sure you are, Mando. Sure
Yeah.
you are.
So
Yeah.
he's not as like, I thought it would be more signed up, but I think for what they did, that was fine because they moved him in his relationship with Grogu more than they
Yes.
did in who he is within the greater galaxy.
I would absolutely agree with you. I thought, when we saw those trailer shots and we were speculating that scene with the snake, right? The underwater snake, like, oh, he's in a cave. Oh, where's his character gonna go? I think we were expecting a little more than what actually happened. But talk to us about snakes.
Yeah, snakes, I love snakes in storytelling because they go all the way back to like Adam and Eve, right? If you have snakes
Mhm.
in there being different things, so they are often signs of duality, and depending on the narrative they can be evil and deception, like an Adam and Eve story,
Mm.
or profound emblems of rebirth, healing, and ancient wisdom. And
Oh.
because they shed their skin, they are universally used in narratives to symbolize resurrection, healing, and personal evolution. And I actually think they did mean this to Mando, because it's not until he realizes that the emotions he feels when the twins say, you won't be there forever, that he
Yes.
starts to grapple with that idea that that is how he feels and that he does feel like a dad, because he hasn't had parents for a long time and he doesn't know, I think he doesn't know how to articulate what he is. But when he's really vulnerable in that with the snake in that moment, that's when he starts to realize, yeah, I do want to be there and teach him how to take care of himself and be the one and be the dad. And so in that moment, it's when he realizes it. And I think it was important in that moment to take his helmet off so we could see the
Right.
character deal with it.
Yeah, he really needs his realization. And in fact, John Favreau talks about in this roundtable where they have to be really careful when to take Mando's helmet off. So let's listen to that.
Yeah, it's always
It's a hard
tricky.
one. This one, we're now contending with lore that we've created and making sure that we're not repeating ourselves.
It's got to be for the right emotional moment, though. I think
Yeah.
that's the pivotal thing. That's kind of what drives us towards when do we take the helmet off, and then how do you get it off is also a very big question at this point.
That's right.
But yeah, it's usually for the emotion because you want to see Pedro unleash all of his gifts and talents as an actor.
You get a whole other range of gears in the race car once you
Yeah.
get to see that face. Thank you all so much.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, according to that, they chose a really good moment. I also felt like when Mandalorian's helmet comes off, it's not only surprising for him, but it's surprising for the audience because it's so fast. Like the twins are like, "Oh yeah, bring the helmet," and Embo just takes it off right away, and he's left with this face like, "Oh," and he like starts to like go into himself. Like it's just this great moment of acting from Pedro Pascal that I really loved.
He has to do the shame kind of, that's the look, right? That he's
Yes.
ashamed of what's happened. But then he gets mad. He's like, tells him, I'm going to have to kill you. Now you've sealed your fate, buddy. If I make it out of this. And yeah, I know that I remember hearing an interview with Pedro Pascal when he said, they asked him, did he tell you that you're going to take the helmet off? He says, oh, very early. And John explained it to me. And I knew it was exactly the right reason because you have to be careful to take it off. But I'm guessing Pedro was probably on set 1, maybe 2 days.
Yeah. Not too much.
So he worked harder in the press tour than he did probably on the movie. It probably took him a couple days, 2 or 3 days to do the audio and a couple days to film what they need to film. They probably had to do some fittings for the costume. But I think on set, it wasn't like there was any big choreography. He was sort of just flailing at the Amani as
Mhm.
they fought him, and then he had to, look up at the snake, and then most of the other stunt stuff was Lateef jumping around underwater.
Right. He had to be pretty wet
Yep.
for a day. Indeed.
He was going to do that.
Yeah.
I actually feel like Grogu was maybe the bigger mover in this movie. What do
Yes.
you think?
Definitely. I think so too. And even in that snake scene itself, Grogu is the one who saves Din in that moment. Din is trapped in this pit, and Grogu and the Anzellans have made it through the big pipe. And they've gotten to the point where Grogu, he packed, he came prepared. He's got his little firearms explosive, and he puts it right there on the what is it, that place, so that he blows a big hole so Din can get out. So he saves him. He saves his dad. That's so
He
cute.
does. After all the time when he was like, don't touch the buttons. And then he's like, hey, buddy, can you touch the buttons that I never let you touch? If anybody knows this, if you tried to learn something and you don't actually, someone tells you, but you don't actually get to do it, it becomes really hard to like recreate it. Because you haven't actually like pushed the buttons and walked through it and understand. And, that was one of the things that I think Din was struggling with was, how do I keep him safe? But you're going to have to let him fail and do things wrong. It's obvious that Mando isn't really into failing because he seems to push through things and fight through things and is very competent. So, that's kind of hard, right? To watch somebody struggle.
Yeah.
But I think taking him, separating them gave Grogu this like incredible ability to be like, hey, Dad, I can do some things. I am a little independent. I mean, I formed an alliance and I got people to bring me here. I don't know how to fly a starship, but I've had somebody who did. Actually, one of my favorite parts is when the Anzellan's like, he got me.
Oh.
And I'm
When
like, that's how they're going to get the other Anzellans to go with Grogu. I was like, oh, that's so mean though.
I know, that poor guy. At least they didn't kill him. Like the dog didn't bite down. It was, this is bad
just
though.
Like tossing him around.
Oh, gross. He's gonna need a bath after that. Ugh. So right now, Richard and I are in the middle of watching Mandalorian season 3. We never made it through the whole thing before we saw the film. We were behind in our rewatch. But in the season 3, Grogu is very much a side character. He's sitting on Lizzo's lap for an episode. He's just kind of sidelined a bit. And here in this film, I mean, he really gets the spotlight. I watched this film with Bryn McKinnon for her first time in our press screening. And every time Grogu was on screen, which is a lot of the time, she'd be like, oh, like I'd hear these little coos from her. It was very cute, but he definitely steals the spotlight in any scene he's in. And like you said, he feeds himself. He feeds Din when Din is out and gets water. He knows where to get the water. He gets the running water. He doesn't get the standing stagnant water. Like, it's very smart. And he's taken in a lot. And now he has this opportunity to use that knowledge to survive. I think it's great. Oh, and he saves Rotta at the end, because Rotta and the twins fall down into that pit, but Grogu's got him with the Force.
Yeah, it's really interesting because people have been a little critical of of the script in general, but as far as like that little section with Grogu by himself really sets up the things that you need to happen, which is one to show that Grogu can move along, but also remind you that he can use the Force when they show him meditating. Like, it's reminding you so that when he grabs Rotta, it's not like a shock, right? It's like, just remember, these are the things that he's capable of doing. He's the one who recons the ship and, figures out that they do have a way off. Like, he knows that's a problem that Din had to, he got there and he's like, oh, well, you can go. And he has this great little dying samurai scene.
And the music there is so heartbreaking, too.
It is.
It's
Oh, my God. You're killing me.
Band. Yeah. Oh, It's awful. And then their misdirect where Grogu goes up the ramp to the Anzellan ship and then they cut away. And
I
then
knew he wasn't gonna
no, I knew
go.
he wasn't either. I'm like, okay, he can't. Yeah, it's true.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
great.
mean, it's like they just do a lot with him, and if you could just see it through like the eyes of a child, like he's in this big scary world, but all the things that he accomplishes, I think children would see that, at 6, 7, 8, and be like, hey, I can do some of these things that I need to do. So, that's what Star Wars is there for. We must remember that when we get too caught up in it's not like Andor.
Right. Yeah, can you imagine Andor as a film? It wouldn't work. It's not the same.
No. Well, for one, it needs a lot more time to tell the story it's touring, films. And I think that's part of the problem. Disney, by making the choices they made, trained people to expect more out of I'm going to say unit of storytelling. So a season, and I think people compare a season to a film. It's not the same. You could do a lot more with a season of storytelling. You can account for a lot more characters, like a show like Andor did, or The Acolyte has a lot more characters that it's moving around. You can do more with more people than you can in a movie. Movies are very tight and you can only move a character so far, which is, one of the reasons there's time jumps in the original trilogy, because this happens and then they move you to, a year or two away, and then they ask you to use your imagination to move those characters to that moment and be with them in that moment, and sometimes fill in the blanks. And then again, they move the characters forward. I mean, the prequel trilogy makes huge leaps with the characters.
Yeah. What, like 8 years, 10 years almost?
Yeah, but I feel like John wants to do more with these characters. I think that he'll get the okay to do more with these characters, but this would just be this is just I learned how to shoot in the X-wing and shoot down the Death Star type of thing. That's it. Now you have to wait until they're farther along in their journey. Maybe Grogu's talking the next time we see him.
Oh, yeah. Now, do you think Grogu will have the Yoda kind of speak, or not? Will he speak normally?
I almost think he has to, but
which
I don't
one?
know.
Yoda speak
like Yoda. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I know that'd be cool. But who's he learning from? Because often, well, we'll see. That's a speculation for another day. Let's go on to Rotta, because this is a fun character. And last episode, I talked about how he is my favorite character. And after 4 screenings, that remained the same. I feel like this Hutt is very empathetic. I really feel for the guy. Like, in just a couple lines, they establish, his father's famous, and what do you do with that? Well, you're the child of this famous person. It's such a drag because you're not your own person. You're always known as that. Like, and then he was always, because he was this gangster's son, he was always hunted down by the other people who wanted to be on top. So he never had a childhood. Like, the scene really got to me when the Anzellans, when Grogu meets the Anzellans, he's like, he wants to play with them. And he goes and plays with the Anzellans while they're fixing the ship. And Rotta tells Din, he'll be fine. When I was my age, I didn't have that. And, he's got that. Like, it just tore my heart out. So what did you feel about Rotta?
Well, what tore my heart out for Rotta was in the fight scene in the pit. The pit is the song actually is playing. Yes. When he had told Din and Grogu that, people cheer for me and whatever. And then unfortunately it ends up that Din is now fighting him, and he it was cool
the minute
fight.
Yeah.
Right. But Din says, I yield. And then he realizes that people want him to die. Like, they've completely changed their mind. Like, I was like, oh man, I'm gutted.
That got me too. Yeah, the minute, so they're cheering for Rotta because Rotta's winning, and then Din, gets him with the hold and like has the knife to his throat, and all of a sudden they're like, kill, 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 and Rotta's looking around like, dude.
Yeah, screaming for me to from hero to zero.
Yeah, yes. Oh, yeah, that got me into my last screening too. It was awful. Also because it was 4DX, so before that we were all moving around, and all of a sudden it was like,
you
steady.
got to bump around for the
for the fight, and then all of a sudden it was steady, and you could really see the seats moving around, looking at the the audience. You're like, oh, poor Rotta.
Oh, poor Rotta. I mean, I felt like they picked Jeremy Allen White. They were going to do something with him. I liked how they did his voice. I mean, the only complaint I had with Rotta was that some of the dialogue felt repetitive for that character. Like they were trying to tell us like a couple times over who he was. And I was like, I got it. But that would be the only thing that, as far as a character, how he made me feel, I would love to see more of him. And to me, it felt like this is what they were going to do with him, which was have him be like the character that really defies what you think Hutts are, particularly when they showed him with the muscles. I do want to play, it's a little bit longer, of a clip from the round table where Caitlin from Sky Talkers asked about using Rotta the Hutt from the Clone Wars animated movie.
It feels so right that Rotta the Hutt
Yes.
is a central part of this film.
Thank you for
How did
connecting
that
those
come to be?
So I was at Skywalker Ranch, which just the notion of being at Skywalker Ranch, mixing Iron Man 1, this beautiful creative retreat that George Lucas created in Marin, in the hills, was a dream come true. And Dave was there, living embedded in the carriage house, or actually in Big Rock.
Big Rock, yeah.
And he was coming up with this Clone Wars series that nobody had ever heard of, that George was doing with them, and on the other side of the
Secret in the
property.
Hills.
My son was there as a little guy, and he came by. I showed him what we were working on. I met Dave up there, and he said, "Oh, you want to show your son the Clone Wars work in progress?" And my kid was the first kid to see any of it. It was super cool. Now you look back at it compared to like Maul.
No,
it looks like it was prehistoric technology, but at the time it was so cutting edge, and the stories were great, the characters were great, the energy was great. And I said, hey, if you ever want a voice, and then I did, not too long after that, I was called up to do Pre Vizsla, playing a Mandalorian with the Darksaber, and I think. Maybe all of it.
And you never
connects.
stopped. You kept playing
it was
Mandalorian.
Still bubbling under there. And then years later, when I pitched to Kathy Kennedy, she says, "Oh, you should meet this guy, Dave Filoni." I said, "Oh, I know Dave Filoni."
Yeah.
And that partnership is why we've been doing it almost a decade. To stick with something this long, it has to be fulfilling. And this creative relationship is such a well balanced one. Dave really knows how to oversee the creative process now that especially he's running the show. It's I really look forward to this next era, and I love having my ideas both encouraged and also guided in a way that only another creative could do.
When I saw Iron Man, I just thought, wow, John, he understands Star Wars, because it had adventure, it had heart,
it had wipes.
Action,
it had Star Wars wipes.
It just had the right feeling, and it turned out to be true. It's been really fun for me, because I'd wanted to, after George had really taught me, working on Clone Wars, I was so interested in live action. And so when Kathy came on, and I said I'd really be interested in exploring that, but I'd never gone to school for that. It was always animation and drawing. But she found opportunities to get me exposed. And then, collaborating with John really was the kind of missing piece that I really needed to understand this other medium that Star Wars' original expression was. But because of the way George had taught me, everything was really clicking pretty readily in the way that we made that show. And John's always, John's a great surprise for creatively. He's so imaginative. Never did I imagine that Rotta would come up as a subject again, but John was like, "Hey, what about Rotta?" And I was like, "What about him?" And you're like, "I have this idea." But, it's one of the things I learned about, just storytelling is you just have to be open to things, and like a child of Yoda's species, like what even is that? But I think it's not just about the idea, it's about having the right people creatively behind those ideas, driving those stories forward. And, I think one of my jobs has been that since I've been at Lucasfilm so long and work with George, I just kind of have become sensitive to, well, maybe this, maybe not that. think about this. But it's not about telling people what to do. It's just saying, hey, think about this. And John comes up with great answers, or it takes him in a different direction. Like, one of the things was that Mandalorians and Clone Wars took their helmets off all the time, but John was like, what if that wasn't? What if they didn't do that? And I said, well, yeah, let's talk about that. And it became a great story point in that series. And it's just exciting for me that the collaboration has lasted this long. We've gone on so many adventures, and now here's one of the biggest adventures of all, to the movie theater, which is very fun for me. And I'm just thrilled to be doing it with John, and seeing little Grogu up there in lights is this particular thrill. So yeah, it's exciting.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to play this was the message I got from this is that Grogu needed a friend, right? He needed somebody who understood what it was like to be in this big universe and be different than other people. And that is Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. They are different than most of us. They are storytellers, they're technology people and they're artists. And I think their brains think a little differently, but I think they found they're like Rotta to their Grogu, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is a nice little touch in this movie because, like you were saying, like Lizzo holding the baby, it was kind of like, oh, holding the baby. He didn't really get to do anything in a lot of things. But in this kind of melding of puppetry and animated, CGI, we get these two characters that can be friends, and they can be friends in episode 22.
Yep.
Force Remade or whatever it is.
Yeah, they can pop up as buddies in some other thing. They can have them go gallivant on the beach somewhere together. So what did you think of that scene? Because I know Richard had mentioned like the beach scene.
I love the beach scene.
Yeah, wasn't it cute?
He was like a little seal.
And Grogu's just having so much fun. He goes, yeah. He's all laughing. Oh my God.
Well, and it's a good reminder in that scene that, Zeb says at one point, he says, I love this kid.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So Rada's supposed to be like Luke Skywalker age or Leia age in the original trilogy, not like a 30-year-old. He's supposed to be like a teenager, and that's why he's able to play with Grogu, who's, not, he's still like a preteen, but they're not that far apart. They're closer to each other than really he'll ever be to Din or to anybody else that he's dealing with. Even though, Grogu's 50, it's 50 is in this span of 1,000 years of his life, and Hutt's same way.
Yeah. Oh, another moment that broke my heart is I just remember Grogu thinking about how long his lifespan is, and here he's helping Din after Din is poisoned, and Din's just laying there, and he heals him, right? He heals him, and then he's like, okay, Dad. Like he moves his arm a little bit. He like tries to like, does he tap on his helmet? He's like, oh, okay, what's going on? And then even after he gives him the medicine, he still doesn't move right away. And so my heart broke for Grogu, knowing that eventually this will probably happen in the future. Like he is going to outlive Din if he doesn't get killed by one of their jobs or anything, but this will happen. So it kind of making me tear up right now. Like, oh,
it was a very Jedi moment in this, that the Gattori had told him sometimes you just need to let go. That you just have to trust in the Force. Unfortunately, like I think his Force abilities are like helping the body accelerate what it can do naturally, but you would have to know that there's a poison to move a poison, right? And I don't think that's in his wheelhouse yet. Now that he has experience, and when he gets older, maybe that's something he can deal with it. But I don't think he understood. He saw a wound and says, "Oh, I'll fix the wound and it'll be better," and it didn't fix him. So, another lesson in his little wheelhouse for when he's an amazing Force user.
Yes,
well, he already is, but he's very powerful. It's just he's very uncontrolled.
Yes. Yes. Like Rey. Well, let's talk about Colonel Ward. How did this character come off to you as Sigourney Weaver?
Well, I mean, my one criticism of Jon Favreau has been consistently, I've watched his catalog of work, what he's written and directed, is that the women are just things in his story. That they do what need to be done. And that's kind of how, I mean, it's Sigourney Weaver and he typecasts. That's one thing. And this is consistent from Iron Man 2, Chef, Elf, across his body of work. It's consistent. And so that would be the one place, if I were going to give him some constructive criticism, is that he could amp up this side of his storytelling and work through it. I mean, maybe have, if Carrie Fisher were here, she would have done the pass and really worked it up. But I feel like it could have a pass to make the character a little less just what, she's essentially Ripley in, but maybe
in the Star Wars
nicer
universe.
in Star Wars.
Right. Yeah. To me, her character was messy, very messy, which is what she says like 3 times in the film. Like, the writing for her was kind of awful, honestly. I was disappointed.
I'm thinking the same thing. She was probably on set for one day. The script wasn't very tight, and she recorded what she recorded, and they worked with what they had to work with. And that's probably unfortunate because it ended up being a little messy. It wasn't great for her. So that if I were going to critique the film and, coming down the line, we have Jon Favreau, who is interested in telling a father-son story, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's very Star Wars. Then we're going to have the next movie, Starfighter, Sean Levy. That's his same wheelhouse, father-son stories. And so this is why we need to get different people into directing and writing in Star Wars universe, because, you get caught in this. The one person I think who's understands it and tries very hard is Dave Filoni. And he's nobody's going to be perfect. Nobody's going to write perfect, but I think he's tried the hardest of anybody to change that about instinctively going to, male characters, and pick 2 characters from this movie you could have changed to be women. Maybe the Gattori could have been a woman, a wise old woman in the swamp. There's been a few of those. Yeah. Or
Embo even could have been maybe a female bounty hunter.
Latrazi or somebody. It's not like we didn't have them. Now, Embo makes sense because Embo's one of the better bounty hunters in the galaxy. So it says something about Din. Or like the first lieutenant of Coin. That was an alien. Like I would have just said we could have shook it up a little more and written Colonel Ward a little better. Those are my biggest critiques of the movie.
Yeah, I would agree with those.
But it's still Sigourney Weaver, so
it is. Yeah, it was cool to see her, definitely. And I've heard from behind the scenes stories that, she's very stern toward Grogu on the set, but during shooting, whenever they'd yell cut, she'd be like, "Grogu, come here," and she'd like cuddle him.
I could see that. I would have to. I'd be like, "Give him to me."
Yeah, exactly. So then, now Hugo Durant, he's the Ardenian. What did you think about this character? Because it was, voiced by Martin Scorsese. It was so great. Like, he was great.
I actually thought he did a really good job. I don't know. Has he acted before? Because I felt like he's done this before.
That's a good question.
Well, obviously he's directed actors before. So the cool thing about the character was it was in a food truck. So it was very much a nod to Jon Favreau's passion for food, his movie Chef. In that movie, his character is a very highly regarded chef who ends up losing his job and has to open a food truck. So this is all a nod to that part of his life and his storytelling. So that was kind of fun. But again, I thought there was a lot of humanity in the character, even though it's a creature and you don't get to see a face.
Yeah. No, I agree. This character is so great. The animation, I felt, props to the animators, because the animation is subtle and perfect the way the 4 arms do things to make the sandwich, it's not perfectly choreographed. Like one arm doesn't do one thing and then the arm does the other thing and then the third arm does. No, they're just kind of going along, not completely together, but they're all creating the sandwich. And also when he points at Rotta, oh, he's a monster. 2 arms point, but they go at like different times.
Yep.
Like they're not completely together. It's a little out of sync, but it looks very natural to me, and I just adore it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I thought he was a nice little addition. He's also has the same last name as a character, Rio Durant, of the same species, that was
Yes.
voiced by Favreau for the Solo movie. So maybe we'll come out with a book that they're related or something.
Yes, or there's a whole Durant family. I mean, what is it? Hugo says that he's got lots of little ones at home, smaller than you, smaller. they're smaller. So there could be a whole bunch of Durants running around the galaxy.
I love that there's he gives them the coin, like what I didn't give you any information. He's like, that's for his dad.
Snacks. His
Yeah.
cap, yeah.
I'm leaving
Grogu's,
the
like,
kid with
eating.
you.
Oh, is that what it meant? He's leaving the kid with him? Oh no. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so you mentioned Embo. Now, I can't remember in the Clone Wars, what did Embo end up doing? Was he a part of... Go ahead.
Well, he was in a lot of things. That's why
Okay.
Embo's a particularly important bounty hunter. You know, we have like levels of bounty hunters. So he was creator
And
of George.
He's voiced by Dave Filoni in the
Yes.
Clone Wars. Yeah.
They kind of mess with his voice, and he doesn't really speak. He's not speaking in basic or English or anything.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he was supposed to be killed off in the show Bounty Hunters. It was called Bounty Hunters in an episode. And then, but he's worked for the Hutt clans, battling against the former Sith Lord Maul and the Shadow Collective, which harkens back to the Solo movie again. And he was also a member of Boba Fett's Crate's Claw, and he worked alongside Bosk and C-21 Heisinger and Latz Razi. So that was in the animation. And at one point, that group was hired by Asajj Ventress to help break out her lover Quinlan Vos from Count Dooku's castle on Sereno. So he was also in the books.
Right,
and
okay.
Then, yeah, and then on Scipio, who managed to briefly match the legendary Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker in combat.
Whoa.
So he is a skilled and talented bounty hunter within the universe. And so that was probably important as far as it had to be somebody worthy that they could get the jump on Din, because we think very highly of him.
Right. Yeah. And he did get the jump on Din. Poor Din. He had that electricity button in the right spot.
Din it was like an Indiana Jones movie. He just kept getting the crap beat out of him.
It's not the years, it's the mileage.
That's right. That line was going through my head a few times when I watched it the second time.
Nice. Okay, so let's move on to the twins, which is our Hutt twins. They live in that big palace. You know, the first screening, when Din is going to, like, they're finally going to fight at the end, fight the twins, and they go towards that palace in the big gunrunner ship. I didn't realize that the palace was like a big giant tree until my second viewing. I'm like, where are they going? I don't see a palace. And then I realized, oh, it's like that big tree looking thing. So it was funny. But I think it's a little gross how they sleep together in a little yin and yang. They're like brother sister, right?
It's the whole thing's kind of gross. But I mean, in George Lucas's kind of idea, the Hutts are supposed to represent like gluttony and greed. And, you know, when the first time when they walk into the palace, it looks like you walk past like an orgy.
Yes.
And, you know, it's like, I mean, kids won't look at it and think that, but that was definitely one of those layers where I think adults would think that when they
there was like 2 rooms that looked like stuff was happening.
Yeah.
And then you got that one slithering out behind them. That was very Return of the Jedi, walking into Jabba's palace, right?
Yes, it was. It was
established this world.
Yeah, a lot of Return of the Jedi. But yeah, my favorite thing was when they finally fall in the pit and we also see too that they're bigger than Rotta, right?
Yes.
That's another establishing thing, is that he's, muscle bound and everything, but he still isn't a full grown Hutt at this point. But when they fall in the pit, and then the one twin pushes the other, well, we're not twins anymore. Bye. You can go get eaten by the snake. And then they both get eaten by the snakes.
That's so gross. Oh, the scene where the snake is going into the water and you see the two big bulges.
Yes.
Ew. All right. Okay, let's think about better things like the Anzellans. Okay. Tell me. Oh, obviously you love Anzellans. You have them all over now.
Big pipe, huh?
That was so great. What a great moment. I just have to say this puppetry for them is so cute. And I really want to see a recording session of Shirley Henderson record their voices. She has the best job. She's been in the Harry Potter franchise as Moaning Myrtle. She's also been in Pixar. She was in Elio. She voiced the mysterious alien character called Ooh. And now she's in the Star Wars universe as Anzellans, like all of them.
She's played every Anzellan all the way back to the Rise of Skywalker. So yeah,
it's amazing. So great.
So let's listen to Brandon Way Nerdy from Talking Bay 94 ask about Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni about using puppets and masks and still being able to feel something.
How hard is it to draw like significant emotion or those storytelling beats from masks, from aliens, from puppets, from animatronics?
Well, I think the answer is in the question. It's always worked in Star Wars, right? So when I think about Darth Vader, to me, is a character. And part of why we came up with the Mandalorians don't take their helmet off thing was, I think, me trying to connect narratively with the idea that Boba Fett was a face, was a character. And that if we were going to set out to do this, and I had been wrestling with the similar questions around, Iron Man. And, we had other, and speaking to people who've been working in Marvel for a long time, where some characters are whipping their mask off at every opportunity so you can connect with them. Star Wars never felt that way. Certainly the episode 4, R2-D2 was the character I connected the most with, and he barely looks anthropomorphic. So I think it's how George contextualized these characters, but the whole idea of color, palette, and silhouette to help define the story. And I think that's why, younger people connect with Star Wars, even if they don't understand everything that's going on. It's sometimes it's a little scary for them, but there's a sense of who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, and a sense of hope ultimately, which I think is also helpful. And I think that the mask theater side of it contributes to how archetypal these characters feel. And knowing George's reverence for Joseph Campbell and the monomyth, I think all of these are tools that he arrived at. And even studying how it came together was really an intuitive process that emerged. And then Star Wars was defined around that first film, but his instincts led him to that. So I do like the idea of characters not always being a face, and certainly we had with Legacy, the animatronics, to have a character, an Ugnaught character, which would not be, I don't think you'd identify as one of the most expressive or empathetic characters in the canon, but that character ended up being a character that people connected with a lot because of Misty. Her performance within the suit, of course, our voice performance, and our puppet, Nick Nolte, and our puppets, puppeteers and puppet designers. That you get away with different things in Star Wars than you do with other genres. You can have puppets mixed with CGI, mixed with miniatures, mixed with masks, and it's forgiven. And its wonkiness is almost embraced as part of the wabi-sabi of it all. And that's why I love working with not just masks and puppets, but stop motion, motion control miniatures. That's part of what, that also allows us to tell a fresh story for a fresh audience. Story-wise, it's very accessible. But if you know Star Wars and you know your history, you're going to see that we're using ingredients. You know what I mean? We're going back to the seed bank and sprouting new.
The question's funny to me because coming from animation, I was so interested to work and direct, actors right there in front of me, and the face and the performance, and like,
this is a test.
I won't have, this is different. This is the first day. I won't have the control I do in animation, where you can really micro any smile or eyebrow or anything. So I get there for the first day we're shooting, and it was Mando in his helmet on a buck. So Mando on a thing that's not really there that he's riding, with Misty as Queel in a mask. So I see her eyes, but everything else, and I've got the puppeteers, and I'm like, right, so this is live action. It's just, but it was so much like animation in a way, because I was still directing the puppeteers like you direct your animators. And, Brendan is such a cowboy. We talked about like Mando's like his slit on his visor of his helmet being the brim of a hat, and how that would work that angle for like different expressions, and that became like a brow. So it was an interesting kind of step over for me into the world of live action. In fact, the first human face that I ever looked through a camera to see and direct was actually Werner Herzog, which that was another level of like, okay, strange, but and obviously.
When you thought you were making live action Star Wars, you weren't picturing looking at Werner Herzog.
Not necessarily, no, but he was brilliant. So it's like Star Wars is just a surprise that way, and it's a.
And I love how your story's getting around about how Werner Herzog's the reason that we're using the puppet Baby Yoda and not CGI.
He loved the puppet. He believed in it before I think any of us really did. Like, he fully committed to it. Because we had a lot of questions.
Shamed us for not embracing it.
Yeah, we should have embraced it more. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, Grogu's a little magic guy. The puppeteering of him, the way that the Legacy built it, they understood the way that it, he could move, and I've always enjoyed photographing it. And we figured out backlighting him, and you just figure out things. So when it came to doing the film, I was very excited to get to do. The puppet unit.
We had tested all of it out a lot too, of how to get expression out of his face. There's also different performers in the costume sometimes, and each one brings a slightly different thing. And sometimes he's even purely digital, the Mandalorian. So it's a formula that we understand, and it's very Star Wars.
I was going to say it's very Star Wars. Star Wars is unlike anything else you can try to do. I've heard that from people. Kathy says it. George says it. Like, I think everybody that comes in contact with it doesn't understand that coming in, but they sure understand that going out.
Well, you look at behind the scenes of like when Boba Fett pops his mask off. And it's different people. And you have the puppet, the Frank Oz lowering, his arm getting tired between takes, and Yoda.
Well, having done any of this, I have to say too, it gives you tremendous appreciation for the original team that did Star Wars. They were doing this stuff with not nearly sophisticated technology, computer chips, animatronics.
And we know the formula is going to work. That people are going to like Star Wars if we do this right.
But boy, is it amazing.
They didn't know. Nobody on the set would acknowledge that they were
the wood's banging around, the armor's clacking around, the astromechs are breaking, it's overheating.
What guts he had to make this.
Unbelievable. I so appreciate it.
We're following a trail up the mountain.
Yeah.
And he was there,
Yeah, he's on, trust me, it's going to work. He's like Han Solo and the Falcon. It's not my fault. It's like, it's all that kind of fun realm.
And the fact that he's still around and still cares is really awesome. And by the way, his museum is amazing. Awesome. Museum of Narrative Art.
Yeah, you're going to
be
love
opening this year. Let's plug that.
Yeah.
It's great. It's not just Star Wars. It's his collection over 50 years of everything, and how he contextualizes it all. And I know, sorry, we're not getting through a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But Star Wars was a door. He opened a door to me to appreciating cinema, appreciating the monomyth, appreciating other filmmakers. As a 10-year-old, seeing that one experience was enough to get me curious about everything. And I am doing this. I wouldn't be doing this if I hadn't had that experience.
That's right.
I like this. Well, they talked for a long time and we let the whole thing play. Again, reinforcing my point earlier that they need people that think like each other. You'll notice that John and Dave help make sure that they answer the question because it goes so way off target.
Oh my gosh, they were just talking to each other at one point. They were like just guys having a chat.
But the point that they're making is Star Wars is its own genre, and in a way it can get away with some of these things of having the puppets and doing the CGI and melding them together. And, I love how they take it all the way back around to Dave Filoni is so excited to do live action, and he's not filming actual actors the first time he does it. But finally, the first person he actually films is Werner Herzog, who's like an icon, as far as directors. And then that's the guy who convinced them to do the puppet, which if Werner Herzog hadn't convinced him to do Baby Yoda puppet at the time, that he loved the puppet, and then they got braver to use Anzellan puppets, it all works, right?
Yeah. Would they have done like just CGI Grogu?
Probably.
Wow. I mean, I know it's a mix of CGI and puppetry, but yeah, the puppet is definitely a huge basis for everything. What I want to know is when they got that moment when Grogu's sneezing with the snow flying off him, when did they know, like, oh, that's it, print it, cut it? How many shots, how many takes did they do? Because that was the cutest moment ever.
It seems like those puppet handlers are know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that extends all the way back to, the first Yoda puppet with Frank Oz. I mean, and in part, when you do have live actors working with them, they have to sell it too, which I think Mark Hamill did a fabulous job of doing that. And everybody who's been with Grogu seems to be able to work with him. Like he's really is there interacting with him. If you've interacted with the puppet, it does feel real. Like that they're able to kind of, I don't know, it's weird.
No, it's true. No, they are. In fact, I mean, we didn't have the real Grogu at our lining up event, but it was puppeteered. It was a fan-made created one, and it feels like you're talking to a creature, a character. Like it's so well. Like if the puppeteer is on point, they can make it feel real. It's great.
I mean, it's not a cheap technology. I believe what I read was $5 million for the puppet because of all the moving parts that make it do all the things it needs to do to be at the level that they can use it for screen. Wow. So, there's a lot of investment in it. But particularly speaking about the Anzellans, they're really important to make Grogu's world like he's not looking up to them. They're like at his level. And so for the film, the Anzellans make him much more accessible. They are older and wiser, and they, say to Rotta, we're going to, first rounds on us or whatever. So, they drink, they're not children, but they bring everything down to his size. So you can you're not looking down at him as a character in the moments that you need him to start growing up. You actually are looking at Grogu as a character.
And he's towering over the Anzellans in their little ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. The two of them. I'm gonna share more because you didn't get to see the Anzellan ship in your prop and set tour.
So I saw the inside of it.
Okay.
But I didn't see the outer shell of it. I looked later at Richard's pictures, and then I looked at my pictures. So I did see the inside, but it was like kind of looked like cardboard on the outside. So it wasn't the full ship, but I saw like half of the inside.
All right. Yeah. It's really cool to like look through that in the front cockpit and like be able to see all the way through into it and be like, oh wow, that's really neat.
Yeah, they really made that. So cool.
Yep.
Wow. Wow, that's so neat. All right, so then there's one more character we haven't talked about yet, and this is the bayou creature that Grogu encounters, and his name is Gattori. And I do agree, this should have been a wise old woman. Wise old bayou woman. All right. But regardless, he was voiced by Stephen McKinley Henderson, who was in Lady Bird, Civil War, Dune Part 1, and Fences, among other films. I haven't seen any of those, so I actually haven't seen him on screen. Have you?
Yes, he has a great voice too.
Yeah, he did have a great voice. I mean, I felt like we really needed this character in particular because in this section of the film, Grogu doesn't talk. So there's no dialogue. He's just, everything is showing what he can do. But Grogu is a lot like R2-D2 in that you can only understand him through the other characters around him.
Yeah.
So usually you have Din, but here Gattori becomes your Grogu surrogate. And I felt it was very plot convenient that Embo shows up and handed off a bunch of info that Grogu couldn't relay himself. Like, oh, I'm looking for 2 people. One's a little puppet. Not puppet, but you know what I mean. And one's a big guy. Oh, he's poisoned, by the way. Like, okay, great. Thanks.
Sometimes you just got to wave that stuff right on
Hand
by.
wave it. Yeah,
Yep.
I hand waved it. It was fine. But yeah, it was a cool character, definitely. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Totori. I'm wondering if he's named like if they were like, oh, he's a gator alien, so we'll just call him Gattori. I don't know.
Well, is it backwards anything? Tag. Nope. Yeah, gator seems most likely.
So do you want to dive into the music of this movie?
Yes, so let's talk about the music. Now, last episode, I believe I did talk about stay to the end of the credits, right? So did you?
Of course.
And what did you think?
Wait, now, were you specifically referencing the Snack Shack song that played again?
I was. The Hugo Durant Snack Shack on the soundtrack, which is the kind of the jig you get. You get like the Mandalorian theme in this fiddler version.
I felt like I needed to sort of like, get up, put my hands up and dance around to that song. So
me too. Wasn't that great? Oh, that was like such a fun nugget. And because it's called Hugo Durant Snack Shack, I guess I'm assuming that it plays in the Snack Shack, but I have never heard it since because I think I'm just too enamored with Hugo and his puppetry.
It's just in the background.
Okay, it is. All right. Yeah. Nice. So you heard
it's weird because they on the soundtrack you get the whole thing, but it's really like this weird Mandalorian theme played as a jig as diegetic music in the movie.
Yeah, that's what I like about it, that it took that theme. It wasn't like a Jabba Flow type song where you get like a whole different music theme. You kind of get that though with Rotta the Hutt and his like the theme that plays during the fight, his gladiator fight. Do you think that's diegetic? It almost sounds like it starts diegetic music, like in universe.
To me, it sounds like that is the music that's playing as his hype music.
Yes.
That Din hears that music. It's like the hype music, and then it kind of blends into just being the music of the scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think that's a good description. Yeah.
Yeah. What's that song called? He has Rotta has that theme, but then it plays out in the pit is when Mando realizes that he's been stunned and that you hear Rotta's theme playing as he, realizes he's going to walk out and fight him.
Yes.
Which to me is like a really cool sort of drum and bugle corps type of sound because there's some crazy drums because my husband was drum and bugle corps and he was a quad player and they do have quads playing on it. And maybe we should play just a little bit of that. And then you'll hear it's just horns come in like the drum and bugle corps would be just drums, just bugles. Now they've evolved way beyond that. And then later in the fight, when they end up realizing that they need to fight all of the
Jarek creatures.
Yes. Then it comes in strings, which give you a little bit of like the tension in the song itself.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Wow. You paid attention, Tricia. I'm very proud of you. Well, let's talk about the Shikari theme because once again, you get these cool like world music happening. So the Shikari theme plays when they're going to that planet Shikari. So yeah, there's almost like two themes for Rotta, because we meet Rotta on Shikari, but there's the world music and then there's the fighting music that we were just talking about. So what did you think about Shikari?
Shikari to me is a bop. Just like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people say that too. It just kind of, it's different. I like that we're getting this, like, John Williams is, like a score. Like he does a score. Yes. And I feel like in Maul Shadowlord, it felt like sometimes music was pushing this way too, when it was trying to be a little different and in the moment more, and maybe something that would actually be in the world, as opposed to, I mean, we're talking about this, right? Rotta, it sounds like it really is maybe Rotta's hype song, the way it's played, and the Snack Shack has this jiggy music that maybe this Durant guy would be playing, and the Shikari to me really set the vibe of the world. Blade Runner, it's kind of Blade Runner, and you get sort of the Chicago vibe from just the way that they have the overhead train and stuff like that.
Yes, the L. Very good. Yeah. One of the things I noticed in my viewings was when Embo comes to take Mando from his world, his Navarro, and he captures Mando, there's this just sorrowful theme going on. The notes just descend. And they descend over and over again. And when Embo calls his ship to him and the ship comes down, the music reminds me of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, when they're calling the crystals like the crystals are calling to the aliens. But it's very much the Crystal Skull's like, whoa, that's not a callback I was expecting, but there
except for the aliens ship is coming.
Yes, well, that I know, that's why it kind of works there. It's like, oh, the alien ship. But that happens a couple times when Mando and Grogu are in dire straits.
And I mean, that's sort of the theme at the beginning and throughout Grogu's world. That, when that's the whole section when he's doing his own thing, trying to figure it out, building his little Grogu hut. They know how to do that? Like, did they just know? Is that a Yoda species thing that they can?
I think it is. It's the do mud. They can work with mud.
First time I saw it, I was like, "What's he doing? Why is he patting the mud? What's happening?" The second time, you're like, "Oh, I got it." And I didn't mention earlier, as an engineer, that just him building that hut is showing a lot about the character, because he's actually has to understand like weight and height and scope as he's building it. Like, it's not a trivial task to have him build a hut.
Oh, well, maybe that was like the third hut he built. Maybe he messed up.
Well, we never know what he was doing on.
No.
Maybe some kid's book about my first hut. It didn't go so well.
Wouldn't that be amazing? That'd be so cute. Oh. Wow.
It didn't go so well either. He didn't measure quite right. But
no, it didn't.
I love too that they were like, we're not going to dong his head 3 times. We're going to go for 4 or 5, because why not? Dong, dong.
In the 4DX, our seats would go boop, boop, boop. When his head would ding. It was really funny. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, should we move on to Easter eggs?
I think so.
Okay. What stood out to you?
Okay, this is a totally me Easter egg, but I was in love with that bird puppet.
From the prop shop?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he got blown to smithereens.
Yeah, he did. Into feathers. Oh,
he got massacred. Bird. I was like, what? My bird got just blooped. Blaster fire.
Well, obviously he didn't, since he still is a prop.
I know. It was all special effects, but I'm still just horrified that bird got. I was like, oh, look, there's my bird. There's my bird. There's my bird.
But the bird was terrorizing Grogu.
I know. And then my bird is gone.
That's so awful. Oh my gosh. Well, did you see all the pilots that we know from being directors and
Yeah,
the...
it was funny because one of my coworkers is like, there was a guy at the bar and he looked really familiar. I was like, yeah, that was Dave Filoni. Oh,
What about the pilot who says, "Oh, look, we found him"? Oh, okay. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here because there's a line I really don't like in this film. So, as the X-wings are circling the Jabba's palace that has been destroyed, or the palace that has been destroyed, someone said, I think it's Colonel Ward says, okay, Zeb, go pick up the trash." What is that all about?
Her dialogue was not well written. We already established that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was off. I'm like, the trash, they just did you a it bothered me. It bothered me a lot.
Wasn't my favorite. I giggle when Rick Famuyiwa, who, so people who don't know, he directed episodes throughout the television show, but he was also the third executive producer on season 3 of The Mandalorian, so very involved. So he's the Black X-Wing pilot, and I'd have to say he's like got the coolest, most cash X-Wing pilot like line deliveries, like he's just chilling out in the cockpit, not fazed by this at all, just saying my line like I'm really chill.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, gonna blow up some towers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. They blow up. I mean, they're in X-wings. What you gonna do? Nothing can. X-wings are pretty badass.
To me, he's like the chillest X-Wing pilot ever.
I love it. Okay. I had to get that off my chest. Thank you. Anything else stand out to you?
Well, I'm going to talk about it because now it's my most viewed thread on Threads.
Okay.
As I asked, did anybody see R2 being lowered into the X-Wing cockpit?
Richard saw it on his first viewing.
Yes, he did.
And I saw it then after he had mentioned, I was like, oh, interesting. And it does. I mean, I think that is R2, right?
I've seen a lot of people say yes, and I've other people who said no, it's R5, and I'm like, no, that's not the one I'm talking about.
That's not R5.
So there is an R5 looking droid.
Yes.
There are several droids that appear, but for people who want to know, and one of the reasons I really think this is true is because of how it's done and when it's done. It so if you go to the opening credits part, when they start putting the names up on the screen, Pedro Pascal, Brendan Wayne, Sigourney Weaver, blah blah blah, then they put like the big executives, director, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. If you keep your eyes on the center of the screen, because you're not looking at the center of the screen, because you're looking side to side to look at the names.
Yes.
If you keep your eyes on the center screen, right near the closing, there will be a droid being lowered into the X-Wing behind the cockpit. To me, it's not there. It's not short because it's there. It was there long enough for me on the second viewing to point to it, to see it, to point to it to my husband, and for him to go, oh yeah, that's R2. Now he's like the casual Star Wars guy. And so even if it's not R2 and somebody says later on that, oh, they found it's not, it's, I think, a nod to this is Luke Skywalker's time in this universe. And some people are like, oh, well, he's off finding Jedi or whatever, or teaching at the academy. No, if he's finding Jedi, he's doing it in the Outer Rim. Absolutely. This could be one of the places. Sigourney Weaver is a peer of Leia Organa. She's directly doing things with Leia because in Ahsoka established that she's the head of the Defense Force. So yes, if he needed to fuel up his X-Wing, that's where he would go out there looking for him. I think it's him. I think it's deliberate.
Okay, so Richard we watched it at the 4DX screening, and he specifically watched the cockpit to see what he could see inside. It's blackened out, so
of course
you can't
it is.
see. Yeah, you can't see who's in the cockpit. But in that same opening credit titles, if you think about it, R2 and 3PO are your through line for 9 episodes of Star Wars. In the opening titles there, if that's R2, also Anthony Daniels makes a cameo appearance as a voice, and he is in the opening credits, seen in silhouette as a pilot that's up on top of a tall tower, like at the Yavin base. That is Anthony Daniels and his voice. So they have R2 and 3PO in the opening title sequence, which has never been done in Star Wars before, by the way, in opening title credits. Also, though, the music here is, I mean, definitely a nod. This is what Jon Favreau was talking about, in that he wants that cinematic experience to draw people in. The music there is the most cinematic, amazing, gorgeous moment. I've cried every time I've watched it in the theater. This is what a theater is for that moment. I was like, it's gorgeous. So if they are going to put them anywhere, that's a good place to put them.
And center screen set is just saying something. Like, that's visual language for movies being center screen. And I think it is a moment just for fans. If you want to see it and you see it, you're like, oh, there's R2, and he's been the vehicle for us to get around in these stories, right? It's always 3PO's there, but R2 is really the way we learn about all these adventures. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He saves the day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good way to end it.
I'm just going to end it with, give me more Muppets in Space with Pedro Pascal.
It's a good crowd-pleasing movie.
I think so. And it's a good way for more kids to have experiences like we had.
Yes.
So
definitely
glad to see it happen.
Me too. Love it. All right. Well, I don't think we can say anything more right now. So Tricia, do you have any plugs?
I do. Hyperspace Theories, the Maul character deep dive, which dives into Maul and Devon's development, is out on Fangirl Blog. And we just put out today our Mandalorian and Grogu Vogler breakdown and review. So Christopher Vogler is the gentleman who took the Campbell monomyth, The Hero's Journey, and condensed it into the form that we know in film. So he tightened it up and explained what it could be. You could apply it to movies like The Lion King, Star Wars, backwards looking to things like The Wizard of Oz. But we essentially showed how this movie is really tight in, uses that formula. And I think that's why it works for a lot of people, because you don't have to think too hard about it. You don't have to struggle with it. It really fits in the model nicely.
Nice. I love that. I look forward to listening to that. I just finished the Maul character deep dive, which was very informative. Yeah. And for Skywalking Through Neverland, as I've been mentioning the past several episodes, we were with liningup.net at the TCL Chinese Theater. We raised money for Starlight Children's Foundation. So far, we have raised over $15,600, and that could still go up based on the Hot Topic stores in LA. They are rounding up each transaction, or you can choose to round up, and all that round up money will be donated as well. So
nice.
Very cool. And also, the next episode of Skywalking Through Neverland is all of our Skywalker reviews. So as we finished each screening of the film, we would have Skywalkers with us, or even at Lining Up, we'd film people. We'd get their reactions. So it's a really fun conglomeration of a bunch of different opinions and thoughts. Moms, dads, everyone, just Skywalkers. I'm looking forward to listening to it, because it's going to be a fun ride. Well, that wraps up this episode of Fangirls Going Rogue, and you can visit us over at fangirlsgoingrogue.com, and you can find us on all the socials. Fangirls Going Rogue is at FG Going Rogue. Tricia is at Fangirl Cantina. I am at Jedi Tink.
You can send us email, contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com.
And you can also find us on Facebook. Just search Fangirls Going Rogue. You can like the page or request to join the group.
And please go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review. We need your reviews so more people can find us.
So until next time, do 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 do.
Yum. Yum.
This site is not affiliated in any way with Lucasfilm Limited LLC, the Walt Disney Company, or any of their affiliates or subsidiaries.
Yep, yep.